just inside the door.
It's just a walk-on mark.
I entered the room when you left. I'm going to close this. I bet you had to have a sit and to be crushed.
She can't make up her mind.
I think right here is a fine enough place unless you it.
There we are.
Yes, sit right there where that lady spilled her drink.
Quickly, put on the gas.
Yes. Feel like
Oh dear, look at me. Not presentable at all.
cover that mirror. Rack it off. Stand up, don't forget.
I'm afraid my coif is wilting in the heat.
You're magnificent, Mr. Diddler.
Okay, we're not talking about that just now, but yes, I am. Since the world began, there have been two Jeremies. The one wrote a Jeremiad about usury and was called Jeremy Bentham. He has been much admired by Mr. John Neal and was a great man, in a small way. The other gave his name to the most important of the exact sciences, and his name was...
Jeremy Diddler.
He is a great man in a great way.
Indeed, I must say, in the very greatest of ways.
Diddling, or the abstract idea conveyed by the verb to diddle, is sufficiently well understood. But the fact, the deed, the thing, diddling, is somewhat difficult to define. We can get, however, a tolerably distinct conception of the matter in hand by defining not the thing, diddling, in itself, but man as an animal that diddles. In fact, what constitutes the essence, the nature, the principle of diddling is in fact peculiar to the class of creatures that wear coats and pantaloons.
A crow thief.
A fox cheats.
A weasel outwits.
A man diddles. This is his aim, his object, his end. Man was made to mourn, says the poet, but not so. Man was made to diddle. And thus it is that when a man's diddled, we say that he's...
Done.
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 Done? Diddling, rightly considered, is a compound, the ingredients of which are minuteness,
Interest.
Perseverance.
Ingenuity.
audacity,
Nonchalance.
Originality.
Impertinence.
and grin. Minuteness. Hooked.
Excuse me.
Your diddler is minute. His operations are upon a small scale. His business is retail, for cash, or approved paper at sight. Should he ever be tempted to do magnificent speculation, he loses at once this distinctive feature and becomes what is known as a financier. A diddler is therefore a banker in petto, in a small way. You may resume your seat.
Interest. Your diddler is guided by self-interest. She scorns to diddle for the mere sake of the diddle. She has an object in view. Your pocket. And hers. She regards always the main chance. She looks to number one. You are number two and must look to yourselves.
Perseverance. This one. Your diddler perseveres. She is not easily discouraged. Should even the banks break, she cares nothing about it. She steadily pursues her end. And und canis aucorio non com obstervitorum.
Ah, yes.
Which means, like a dog, once she catches a whiff of a goal, she will never let up. And so she never lets go of the game. Sniff it out.
Ingenuity. Your diddler is ingenious. Come with me. She has constructiveness, large, She understands plot. She invents and circumvents. If she were not Diogenes, she would be Alexander. If she were not what she is, she would be a maker of patent rat traps or an angler for trout.
Audacity. Your diddler is audacious. He is a bold man. He conquers all by assault. He carries the war into Africa. He would not fear the daggers of the fray heron. Ha! You see. With a trifle more prudence, Dick Turpin would have made a wonderful diddler. With a trifle less blarney, this man. And with a pound or two more brains, him.
Nonchalance. Nonchalance.
Two diddlers in one.
Your diddler, he's nonchalant. He's not at all nervous. He never had any nerves. He's never seduced. Into a flurry. He's never put out unless put out of doors. He is cool, cool as a cucumber. He's calm, calm as a smile from Lady Bury. He is easy, easy as an old glove.
Originality. Judging by this woman's dress, she shall be originality. Your diddler is original, conscientiously so. Her thoughts are her own. She would scorn to employ those of another. A stale trick is her aversion. She would return her purse, I'm sure, upon discovering that she had obtained it by an unoriginal diddle. Where did you get those clothes?
Impertinence. Your diddler is impertinent. She swaggers. Swagger. She sets her arms akimbo. She stares in your face. She treads on your corns. That's mine. She pulls your nose. Oh, yeah. And she eats your dinners. She drinks your wines. She kicks your poodle, and she kisses your wife. Well, you'll have to do.
Your true diddler winds up everything with a grin. But this no one sees but himself. He grins when his daily work is accomplished, when his allotted labors are done, at night, in his own closet, and altogether for his own private entertainment. He goes home. He locks the door. He divests himself of his clothes. He extinguishes the candle. He gets into bed. He puts his head on the pillow and grins. A diddle would be no diddle without a grin. The origin of the diddle is referable to the infancy of the human race. Perhaps the first diddler was Adam. But we can trace the signs back to a very remote period of antiquity. But our moderns, however, have brought it to a point of perfection never dreamed of by our rather thick-headed progenitors. For example, a very good diddle is this. A housekeeper in need of a sofa is seen to go in and out of several cabinet warehouses. At length, she finds one offering an excellent variety. She is accosted and invited to enter by a voluble and polite individual at the door. At length, she finds one well suited to her views, and upon inquiring the price, is surprised and delighted to hear a price quoted at least 20% lower than her expectations. She hastens to make the purchase, gets a bill and receipt, and leaves her address with a request that the article be sent home as speedily as possible, and retires amid a profusion of bows from the shopkeeper. The night arrives, and no sofa. The next day passes, and still none. A servant is sent to make inquiry about the delay. The whole transaction is denied. No sofa has been sold, no money received, except by the diddler who played shopkeeper for the nuts. A very respectable diddle is this. A well-dressed individual, enters a shop, makes a purchase to the value of $1.
Oh, $1, sir.
Ah. Oh dear, I do believe I've left my pocketbook in my other pants.
Oh.
Oh, but would you oblige me, sir, by sending the parcel home? Oh dear, oh dear. I do not believe I have anything less than a $5 bill even there.
Oh.
But, you know, you can send the change home with the parcel, you know.
Oh, very good, sir.
Replies the shopkeeper, who entertains at once a very lofty opinion of the high-mindedness of his customer.
Well, I know fellows who would have just put the package under their arm and with a promise to call and pay in the afternoon when they came by.
Oh.
Boy! Boy! Take this package to this address, and here's $4 change.
A boy is sent with the parcel and the change. On the route, quite accidentally, of course, he is met by the purchaser, who exclaims, "Ah, you have my package! I thought you'd been home with it long ago." "Well, go on. My wife, Mrs. Trotter, will give you the $5. I left instructions there to that effect. "The change you might as well give to me. I shall want some silver for the post office." Ah, 1, 2. Is this a good quarter? Excellent, my man, excellent. Now be off with you, and be sure to do not dally on the way. The boy does not dally at all, but he is quite a long time in returning from his errand, for no lady of the precise name of Mrs. Trotter is to be discovered. He consoles himself, however, that...
Well, at least I've not been such a fool as to leave the goods without the money.
And re-entering his shop with a self-satisfied air, is appropriately hurt and indignant when the manager asks him,
Well, where is the change? I'm gonna kill you and then I'm going to fire you!
Now, here's a somewhat similar thing. A steamboat is casting loose from the wharf.
Cast off there, do you hear?
A traveler, portmanteau in hand, is discovered running towards the wharf at full speed. Suddenly he comes to a dead halt, stoops, and picks up something from the ground in a very agitated manner. It is a pocketbook, and...
Has anyone lost a pocketbook?
Of course, no one can exactly say that he or she has lost a pocketbook, but a great excitement ensues when the treasure trove is found to be of value.
$500!
$500! Congratulations! The steamboat, however, must not be detained.
Time and tide wait for no man.
Oh, for God's sake, sir, please stay just a few more moments. The true claimant will presently appear.
Can't wait. Cast off there, do you hear?
Oh, what am I to do? What am I to do? I'm about to leave the country for a few years, and I cannot conscientiously retain this large amount in my possession. Ah, pardon me, good lady, but you have the air of an honest woman. Will you confer upon me the honor of taking charge of this pocketbook? I know I can trust you, and that I'll advertise in it. The notes, you see, amount to a very considerable sum, and the owner will no doubt reward you for your efforts.
Me? No, you. You were the one who found the book.
Well, if you must insist, I will take a small reward to satisfy your scruples. Why, their notes are all hundreds. Well, and 100 is too much for me to take. 50 would be quite enough, I am sure. But
Cast off there, do you hear?
but on the other hand, I haven't changed for 100, and on the whole, perhaps you...
Cast off there, do you hear?
Never mind, never mind. Here is a 50 on the Bank of North America.
Good idea.
Throw me the book.
Oh, yes.
And the over-conscientious finder takes the 50 with marked reluctance and throws the gentlewoman the book, as desired, while the steamboat fumes and fizzes on her way. Bon voyage! Immediately thereafter, the large amount is seen to be a
Counterfeit presentment.
and the whole thing
A capital diddle.
a bold diddle is this.
A camp meeting.
Hallelujah!
Or something similar, is to be held at a certain spot which is accessible only by means of a free bridge. Now, the diddler stations himself on one end of this bridge and informs all passers-by
That there is a new county law that states all passengers on this bridge must pay a toll. That's 50 cents for anyone under the height of 5'5", 75 cents for those who are over 5'5", and anyone who weighs an extra poundage over 125, well, they must pay at least 3 cents on every 10 pounds. And anyone who has cattle must pay at least a whole head of a...
I've never heard of that
That's
before.
some $50 or $60. Well earned.
Well, this taking a toll from a large amount of people is an excessively troublesome thing.
Now then, quite another good diddle is this. A friend holds one of the diddler's promises to pay, all signed and filled in due form on one of the ordinary blanks printed in red ink. Now, the diddler himself purchases 1 or 2 dozen of these blanks, and every day at dinner, he dips one of them in his soup, makes his dog jump for it, and finally gives it to him as a bonne bouche tidbit. The note arriving at maturity, the diddler, with the diddler's dog, calls upon the friend, and the promise to pay is made the subject of discussion.
Oh, I'll get it, dear.
My friend, I've come to pay my debt.
Oh, come in, come in.
I was taking my dog for a walk, and I thought I might just bring him into your living room.
Bring a dog into my living room. Well, yes, here is the note. No, that's not it at all. Yes, this is the one. No, I'm mistaken. Yes, this is the note.
The diddler is not only surprised, but vexed and incensed at the absurd behavior of his dog.
I am not only surprised, but vexed in the sense that the absurd behavior of my dog. And I must express my entire readiness to cancel my obligation when the evidence of that obligation is forthcoming. Right this way. Right this way. And there we go. Door. Farewell.
Damn.
A very minute diddle is this. A lady is insulted on the street by a diddler's accomplice.
You're fat!
A lady.
Oh, I'm sorry. You've got big teeth.
The diddler himself flies to her rescue and gives his friend a rather comfortable thrashing.
Why, unhand her, sir!
Ow! 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 Ow!
Oh, now be off. You'll get go.
He insists on sending the lady home himself to her own door. He bows with his hand on his heart and respectfully bids her adieu.
Won't you come in and meet my father and my big brother?
What? No, I can't. I've got to go feed my horse.
Oh, is there not some way in which I might be permitted to express my gratitude?
As a matter of fact, if you would be so kind as to lend me a couple of shillings, I'd be most appreciative.
Now, on the first impulse of the moment, the lady decides upon fainting outright. On second thought, however, she opens her purse strings and delivers the specie. Now, I say, this is a very minute diddle, for one entire moiety of the sum paid has to be given to the friend who had the trouble of performing the insult, and then had to stand idly by and be thrashed for performing it. A small, but still a very decent diddle is this. The diddler approaches the bar of a tavern.
Give me a couple twists of tobacco, please.
Twist of tobacco. Here you are, sir. Twist of tobacco.
I don't much like this tobacco. Here, take it back and give me a glass of brandy and water in its place.
Brandy and water.
The brandy and water is furnished and imbibed, and the diddler makes for the door.
Excuse me, sir. I believe you have forgotten to pay for your brandy and water.
Pay for my brandy and water? Did I not give you the tobacco for the brandy and water? What more would you have?
But, sir, I don't believe I recall you paying for the tobacco.
What do you mean by that, you scoundrel? Didn't I give you back your tobacco? Isn't that your tobacco lying there? Would you have me pay for something I did not take?
But, sir...
But me no buts, sir. But me no buts. And none of your tricks upon travellers. Eh?
But...
analogous diddle is this. A lady of ton has dropped, somewhere in the street, a diamond ring of very unusual value. For its return, she offers some $40 or $50 reward, giving in her advertisement a very minute description of the gem and of its settings and so forth, and declaring that upon its return to number so-and-so, such-and-such avenue, the reward will be paid instantaire, without a single question being asked. A day or so afterwards, during the lady's absence from home, a ring is heard at the door of number so-and-so, such-and-such avenue.
Ring.
Oh.
Is the lady of the house in?
No.
Oh, that's astonishing information. I'm quite astounded, and I must express the most poignant regret. For you see, my business deals directly with the lady herself. For you see, I've had the good fortune of finding a diamond ring.
Oh, come in, come in. I'm sure she'd authorize an award for that.
Ah.
Thank you. Ah.
Several days later, the lady returns and expresses some little dissatisfaction with her servant. For her servant has happened to have paid $40 or $50 reward for a
Facsimile
of her diamond ring. A facsimile made of real pinchbeck and paste. But as there is really no end to diddling, so there would be none to this demonstration were I to even hint at half the variations or inflections of which this science is susceptible. I must therefore bring this to a conclusion. And that I can do in no better way than to give summary notice of a decent and rather elaborate diddle of which our own city was the theater, not too long ago, and which has subsequently spread to several other still more verdant localities of the Union. A middle-aged gentleman arrives in town from parts unknown. He is remarkably precise, cautious, staid, and deliberate in his demeanor. His dress is scrupulously neat, but plain, unostentatious. He has the whole air, in fact, of your sober-sided, exact, responsible man of business par excellence. One of those outwardly hard, internally soft sorts of people. People whose words are so many bonds, and who are known to give away guineas in charity with the one hand, while, in the way of a mere bargain, extracting the uttermost fraction of a farthing with the other. He makes much ado before he can get sent to the boarding house.
I dislike children. My habits are methodical. I prefer quiet. I would prefer getting into a small family, piously inclined. Terms, however, are no object. Although I must insist upon settling my bill on the 1st of every month.
It is now the 2nd.
And under no circumstances are you to put it off to the 2nd, but to bring my bill with the receipt at precisely 10 o'clock on the 1st of every month. And under no account forget my instructions on this point.
This done, our man of business rents an office in a reputable rather than in a fashionable quarter of town. There is nothing he despises more than pretense.
Well, there is much show. There is seldom anything very solid behind.
An observation which so profoundly impresses his landlady's fancy that she makes a pencil memorandum of it forthwith in her great family Bible, along the broad margin of the Proverbs of Solomon.
Where there is much show, there is seldom anything very solid behind.
The next step is to advertise in such a fashion as this in one of the principal business sixpennies of the city. The pennies are eschewed as not fashionable, and is demanding payment for all advertisements in advance. Our man of business holds it as a point of his faith that
no work should be paid for until done. Wanted. The advertisers being about to commence extensive business operations in this city will require the services of 3 or 4 competent clerks, to whom a liberal salary will be paid. The very best recommendations, not so much for capacity as for integrity, will be expected. Indeed, as the duties to be performed require a high degree of responsibility, in that large amounts of money must necessarily pass between the hands of those engaged, it is deemed advisable to demand a deposit of $50 from each clerk employed. No one need apply, therefore, who is not willing to leave this sum in the possession of the advertisers, and who cannot furnish the most satisfactory testimonials of morality. Young gentlemen piously inclined preferred. Make application between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. and 10 and 11 a.m. to Messrs. Boggs, Hogs, Logs, Frogs Company, number 110, Dog Street.
By the 31st day of the month, this advertisement has brought to the offices of Monsieur Boggs, Hogs, Logs, Frogs, and Company some 15 or 20 young gentlemen, all piously inclined. But our man of business is in no hurry to conclude a contract with any.
No man of business is ever precipitate.
And it is not until the most rigid catechism in respect to the piety of each young gentleman's inclination that his services are engaged and his $50 receipted for, just by way of proper precaution on the part of the respectable firm of Boggs, Hogs, Logs, Frogs, and Company. On the first day of the new month, the landlady does not present her bill according to promise. A piece of neglect for which the comfortable head of the house of ending in Oggs would no doubt have chided her most severely, could he have been prevailed upon to remain in town a day or two for that purpose. As it is, I'm afraid the constables have rather a sad time of it, running hither, thither. All they can do in the end is to declare that the man of business is most emphatically a hen knee high. For which some people mean them to imply that he is in fact an N-E-I. By which again, the very classical phrase, non est inventus, has not been found. Is supposed to be understood. Yeah. Meanwhile, the young gentlemen, one and all, are somewhat less piously inclined than before, while the landlady purchases a shilling's worth of the best Indian rubber and carefully obliterates the pencil memorandum that some fool has left in her great family Bible along the broad margin of the Proverbs of Solomon.